Well, that was interesting. Hi, my name's Sebastian, and this is Vision Denial in the Road to MSI, where I watch every playoff series before MSI. And yes, even that one. And this one, which was fun, interesting. I don't think it should have gone the way it did, but it did. Let's jump into it. We got Hanwha Life versus Damwon Gaming Kia. Well, what do you know? The ex-world champions lose their top laner, who goes to China. They bring another top laner. Not as good, but still very good. But then they bring in the famous Coach Koma. And yet they're still on top of the world. I mean, they lost against a really D-list tier team earlier in the split, but we ignore those. Um, there are a lot of things that confuse me about this series. Like, I don't know where to start. Let's start with some of the positives. Hanwha Life, you guys did great. Like, I have minor complaints. Like, your vision denial isn't as consistent. I wish it was a little bit more, but really great vision application. You adapted across like, all of the games themselves. Like, I don't think you had, like, no, you didn't have anything that repeated too much. I will say you decide to draft very awkwardly, and it shows because your approach to, like, team fighting on a lot of these, or your approach to the win conditions, I could see the hesitancy. Now, from game two, apparently you guys just shat the bed. Unfortunately, I couldn't follow. I can't follow all the regions. Like, I'm having a hard time keeping up with playoffs. Imagine following 12 regions, just regular games. That's not possible. But from what I understand, you just gave Damwon everything, and then I look at this team, and I'm like, sure, I like it, but, like, it's difficult, and yours is easy. And yet you still lost. And I think the issue comes down to the fact that you guys don't balloon the lead big enough or fast enough before Damwon finds a way to get it back into the game and just take it over. Weird? Pretty weird. Not gonna lie. You also... And I think it's just because you guys made some bizarre decisions after it started falling apart. But it shows that, like, the skill expression after laning phase is just not there. Deft especially. Deft, what's up? Like, let's have a serious one-to-one talk. Like, or a 1-2. You'll never respond to this because you're busy and incredibly talented. But also, what happened? Like, you made world championships last year, but that's off the back of Chovy. You still with Chovy, and it didn't go anywhere. I mean, like, what happened to the person who almost won Season 4 World Championship? Was the most dominant team in the world. I am incredibly surprised. Like, I've tracked your career mostly across the years, and the quality, despite the fact you have stayed consistently in the top of the ladder, the quality of that doesn't shine through from the results. Like, the eye test is not as prevalent as the results would indicate. And even in this game, where you were given your all-time record of 93% win rate jinx, I think now 92 something because of this loss. you still couldn't do anything here. Now, part of it has to do with the execution of Damwon Kia. The other part has to do with the fact that you guys had weird target selection during your team fights. But also, you had 3 different ADCs, and you just couldn't hatch it out. Now, why am I not aiming for Chovy, who is like the star player here? He's absolutely incredible. Well, I didn't feel like Chovy was like inconsequential to these team fights. I mean, he had an effect. In a lot of the cases, he was the reason why they were in the lead during these during the early games before the 15 to 20 minute mark. Hell, I believe Valdez, the caster, literally predicted when Game 3 would go to shit. So, honestly, though, I would give Damwon, like, if I was to give a grade to Damwon, I'm less and less I'm giving grades to these teams because it gets harder and harder to, like, quantify the higher up in the ladder you go, because you start splitting hairs in some of these games. When we get to, like, some of the regions that are just starting today, or starting in, or again, this is a game that happened on April 3rd. I'm recording April 7th. Yeah, some of the regions that are starting today are just starting. The earlier teams, or like the lack of teams in the region, so like if there's only going to be 4 teams, are going to show their weaknesses, so it's better to quantify something. But when you get higher up into the ladder, these 2 teams were... It doesn't look close, but it was close. And I think the difference maker here is that, one, I love Coma, but Coma is also kind of like a mad scientist. He does shit that I will never understand for the life of me until like 3 months later when I wake up from a fever dream and I go like, oh, that's what he was doing. He messes with people. Like, he just straight up mind games people with like pick and bans. I wouldn't feel too bad about this series, Hanwha Life. You guys did good. You did good. You just faced off against a team who is the best closing team in the world. Like, things that I don't like. They pick really bizarre, awkward compositions also. They pick very difficult, very scaling compositions. And it's not like they're the same compositions all the time. But given the meta, there's like a heavy lenience to 1-4. I can appreciate that they sometimes just say, fuck it, we're just going to group. And then they do. Cool. And then they have like pretty shoddy... Like, it's serviceable vision, but it's not the greatest. Hanwha Life had much better vision game the first 15 minutes. For 2 out of the 3 games, they had much better neutral control. Damwon doesn't set up neutral objectives in the ways that like make any sense before the 15-minute mark. Afterwards, they seem to get their shit together, and I think that's the thing that baffles me. Damwon have struck gold in finding a team dynamic, because it's drastically different, because they don't have the same top laner anymore from their World Championship lineup. So, like, the way they approach games is not as clean as the World Championship lineup. It is much scrappier. But they found a golden formula here of picking teams, like picking compositions, that their win conditions apply one way, but they always have the option to fight because their skill expression from the mid-game and transitioning to the late game is so much better than everyone else's. Or at least so much better than Hanwha Life, who has Chovy on their team. And Chovy couldn't do anything. Not to significantly gain enough of a lead to stop what looked like the inevitable, like, death. Like, you know, it's like speedrunning Majora's Mask. Like, there is a time limit. And if you fuck it up, the moon crashes in your face. And it seems like no matter what, You're like, all right, I'm doing good. There's good pacing, and then boom, the moon skipped 3 days and crashed in your face. Things that are interesting. Uh, I can appreciate that Damwon is incredibly efficient with Baron. Nice. I can appreciate that uh, that Damwon plays the closing of their games very confidently. They know exactly what their win conditions are, and they know that the second that they've met their win conditions, boom, they can close the game, or boom, they're like 2 steps away from closing the game. And I can appreciate that they've shown that they're not timer dependent. At least with these 3 games, they've shown that there's not a need to wait for, like, oh, we need the Baron to win. They do 1 game where they win Baron, one without, one where they bait with the Elder Drake. And you know what? Hats off. That's some good shit. It was really fun watching the closing setups for Damwon. What annoys me is that they did nothing to earn it in the first 15 minutes of all these games. Because they're pretty average in the first 15 minutes. That's what surprises me the most, is that they're very average. Now, the question I posit then is that they'll play against, because again, I avoid spoilers as much as I can with these, but like I still have to use Wikipedia pages and just be like, no spoilers, to like track which games go from which order. They're going to be playing against the winner of T1 versus Genji, which means it's a race between 3 teams who have all won world championships. If Damwon's the one that wins the spring split playoff here, and they're the ones that go to MSI. Now, I know that they'll do much better than the tier 3 and 4 teams. This is a given. Just from the fact of the way how they close and how they play team fights and everything else, the tier 3 and 4 teams are not going to work. They're just not going to survive. It's just the truth. And they might beat Pacific and North America. I'm not certain about Vietnam. Vietnam always surprises people, just as my favorite region would. But like, maybe Europe, because Europe is looking up and down. They have some cool stuff going on, but they're not confident enough for me to say anything. But just from 7th to 10th place teams in China, I don't think they could get away with what they did in this series against whoever the representative from China is. And this is just from watching the lower seeded teams from China. Like, I've yet to see the higher seeded teams, but I can't imagine them doing like letting, like, I don't think Damwon would get away with not playing the first 15 minutes cleanly or properly and to just win the game later in. I don't think that'll happen again. Not, or at least not on the international stage, not at the way the meta is and the way that the Chinese teams are playing. Heck, I don't, like, if it's between, because I don't know yet, the race is between Shulka, Rogue, Mad Lions, and G2. If I was to posit from what I predict is probably going to happen, it's likely going to be Mad Lions that is going to qualify. If Mad Lions goes through, I don't think Damwon will get away with it as well. It might be close, but I don't think they're going to get away with it in the same way. So, like, things I want to see. Damwon, clean your shit up before the finals. Like, the first 15 minutes, I can't go like, oh yes, the other team has better vision. Damwon should probably do better in vision denial and vision. They should probably do better with their wave manipulation. They should probably do better with their neutral setup. Oh no, look at that. They started winning all of a sudden with just a random pick. I already give shit to the lower seeded teams and going like, you can't wait for a mistake to win the game because you're not going to get away with it. And sometimes I've said it about like China, and then also in the series with Hanwha Life versus Nangshan Red Force, like punishing mistakes, but also making sure that you force them to make a mistake is very different. And I didn't see you force Hanwha Life to make a mistake. You just egged one out, like you just found one randomly, like a small one, and just dragged as much as you could. Just dragged it. And part of me is fascinated to see how this will work out outside of the region. But I also want you guys to do better. Because imagine that kind of ability, but you have the lead the entire time. Yeah. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one where I go to... We're heading to China for Fun Plus Phoenix versus Rare Atom. See you then. Bye.